morning. I'm Catherine Davison. These are the Lightbox dialogues where we explore themes of personal growth and the growing edge of our culture, specifically related to soul in daily life. And so today I want to introduce my great friend, Minouche Graglia, who's here with us to talk about the process and the practice of sacred art. So what I really want to explore with you today are questions about, where your inspiration comes from. And then behind us, we have something in the works that we won't really talk about specifically, but I have questions about how we as friends and allies in this field of light can harness some of the joy and sacred activism that you do in your artwork, even if we're not fine artists like you. So just to tell you a little bit about Minouche, she has at least 24 years in the fine arts field as a muralist, as a fine arts restorer of frescoes, old frescoes in Europe. She hails from Nice, France, but has been in the States for almost 30 years.
20 is enough.
20 years. And we met, how did we met through a wonderful portal where she was offering some tarot readings, which is another one of her gifts. But most impressively, she has painted some massive murals of epic size, usually about 6 to 8 feet wide and maybe 5 to 6 feet tall. And these murals are like icons that are encodings of prayers around certain themes, like the children of the world, like the
Great.
like the
Great
Barrier Reef,
like Terra Madre,
like Terra Madre, which I'll just shift the camera a little bit so you can get a glimpse of, Terra Madre. She's over here with the many creations, variations, and emanations of planet Earth. But I specifically wanted to kind of learn from you today, if you would share with me about how you encode, if that's okay, if it's not a trade secret, how you encode the sacred into your artwork. Can you say a little bit about that and how you came into this process?
How I came into the process. I will start with this.
Okay.
In 2004, I was sitting on my kitchen table. My heart was breaking, and I was starting to scramble on a piece of paper while friends were gathering around. And suddenly I started to write, and then I'm reading what I'm writing, and I discover there is words of wisdom that cannot be mine. And I started to develop that process until one day I heard a voice in my head, like a thought form, like a telepathy. And the voice said, "It's time to paint the peace leader." So my mind went around that, and I'm like, who is talking to me? What's happening here? Who are you? Am I going crazy?
Yeah.
Right? And then the voice came a few times. It's time to paint the peace leader. So my mind...
Peace leader.
Yeah, my mind went, okay, Nelson Mandela,
Yeah.
Gandhi, and name it, all of them. But I was very busy in my life with whatever was happening. For 3 years, the voice was saying, it's time to paint the peace leaders. And he was like more and more assertive and directive.
Yeah.
It's time to paint. And yeah. And 3 times along those 3 years, I was pointed towards the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers Council. And the third time was a moment when I opened their website. I saw all the grandmothers holding hands, and my body went into trance, and I cried, and I bought this 10 feet by 5 feet canvas, and 6 months of my life were dedicated to painting the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers Council.
So can I ask a clarifying question
Sure.
about that? Okay. So what I heard was that first of all, when you first got even though it was telepathic and sometimes that message is so clear, it's like you can't jump right onto it because you don't even know what to do. So then the mind jumps in and goes, well, it could be this, it could be that. So how did you know for sure it was the 13 grandmothers that you...
How did I know for sure? Along those 3 years, when the voice was asking to paint the peace leaders, the first time came upon my attention, my awareness, a magazine called World Pearls, giving voice to the women around the planet. In it, there was an article about the Grandmothers Council.
Yeah.
And my heart went wide open and said, I wish one day I meet them. And then I put the magazine on the side. And then a year later, a friend came over and gave me a book about the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers Council. And my heart goes, I wish one day I meet them. And the third time, a friend said, hey, I did the website of the Grandmothers Council. We want to check it out. Sure, look at your work. This is when I saw their picture for the first time. And I went into trance, and I was crying so deeply from the depths of my soul, of my heart, that I knew they were the peace leaders to paint. This is how I knew from my heart, the response of my body, the state of my heart. There is a certain vibration. There is a certain. It's like all my chakras are spinning faster or wider. Something, they are being energized, and my being is like expanding. And even though I was not really aware of all these things happening, now I totally feel it and I'm aware of it. But the first time was different. So yeah, it's something in my being that is being activated, and I know from my body, from my chakra, from my energy, from my heart. My heart tells me everything that is true for me to express.
It reminds me of that biblical phrase, like the quickening. When you get that inspiration and then you feel like stirred up, like it's almost like you're just so much lighter that you think, I want to move in that direction.
Yeah.
So it's really intriguing to me how that happened. So when you began to paint the 13 grandmothers, how do you translate what you call the sacred encoding or transmission into the piece, or did you know that at that time?
At that time, I was not aware of it.
Okay.
At that time, that was my first visionary painting, the first one that the spiritual world called me to render. So at that time, my way to paint was as it is now, but I don't have the sense back then of the encoding the painting. I was praying every day before starting to paint. I set a sacred space and I pray. I go into prayer and I go into listening and I hold the brush. Believe it or not, I'm going to cry because that's what's happening. This is energy moving my brush.
Yes.
And that energy, I didn't do any portrait before that painting. And I can't, I don't know. And I have a background of murals, but not portraits. So I hold the brush and there is this energy that is transporting me, that is moving my body, that is moving everything of me. And as I chant, as I pray, as I sing, suddenly there is a voice, a language that is not mine that comes out of my mouth. And I'm speaking in tongue, but not any tongue. It sounds like the different languages of the different grandmothers. And as this is happening, there is this energy of love. It's just pure love that comes through, and somehow this love infused, imbued into the painting.
So it's like a transmission that flows through you in a way, right?
Yes. Wow. So nowadays I use other ways to encode. Nowadays I use a lot of gold leaf, real gold that has the property to hold information and transmit information. So
Yeah, can we pause right there?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I want to pause just for a second. Let's see. We were talking a little bit about what are the qualities that you bring to a piece that turn it from regular fine art into sacred art. And the first thing that you mentioned was really that aspect of the transmission of these, these quickening, these higher vibrational energies, almost like guiding your brush, but that you feel it flows through you right into the tip of the brush, which is so beautiful. And now we're going to talk about the second aspect that I'm really excited about, that I didn't know about until I saw you do the meditation for the children. So can you talk a little bit about what it's like to work with gold?
So working with gold was shown to me in meditation.
Wow.
When I introduced myself as an artist of visionary painting, as an healing art, the vision comes to me. It's really, I see in my inner eye, as a clairvoyant, clairsentient, I see. So I've been shown to use gold. So I trust the process. Whatever they ask me to do, I trust that there is a wisdom and an intelligence behind that process that is entrusting me to use those tools and those information for the greatest good of all. Using gold leaf has a property to hold information and to transmit those information. So when I use a gold leaf and I use it with in combination with sacred geometry, so it's sacred geometry is shapes and I don't want to go too long into the sacred geometry, but
that's really, okay. That's what we're here for.
It's shapes and proportion. So from the ancient time up to now, it has been used to build churches. It's shown into nature. How nature is also based on sacred geometry. The physical aspect of the physiology of the human being is based on sacred geometry. So I am using those symbols that I am shown which one to use for each individual painting.
So wait, you're shown symbols
for
each individual painting.
Yeah.
Are these symbols, I know a little bit about your work, so so we just had a technical glitch that we're recovering from, and we were talking about the power of working with gold.
Yes.
And how you use gold to work with sacred geometry, to kind of encode something. I hear my hands covering the whole screen, to encode something into the artwork. And can you explain to me a little bit about how that works?
Yes, so I am shown which specific sacred geometry shapes I am to use for this specific painting. And not only I use sacred geometry, but I am also shown to use the ancient Aramaic letters, Hebrew letters, spoken by Jesus back then. So each letter has a specific vibration, frequency, so it's embodying in a way a divine quality. And so it's triggering within the viewer DNA, heart and soul, a remembrance to align itself to these qualities that we call divine qualities. Same with the sacred geometry, they have this ability to bypass the mind and touch within our being the different parts that needs to be activated in order to remember our oneness and our holiness, if I may say so.
Yeah, you may say so.
That's why I say.
Yes, because I think many of us are having these awakenings today, and we're trying to create the conditions in which we feel some of the sacredness. There's that spiritual longing that our life begin to sort of, radiate those beautiful effects that the sacred renders. And yet we don't know what to do, really. And so, all of the Lightbox dialogues are thematically related to the evolution of our wisdom and intelligence into kind of our next, our next leapfrog of experimentation in life. So what really piques my curiosity in the case of your work is like, so you're shown these symbols. Are you shown like one square, or are you shown like, here's some key relationships, like put, keynote here, or is it shown like a whole flower of life with stars? And I mean, how much do they or is it different every time?
It's different every time.
Okay.
It's different every time. And the process may start with a simple color or two colors. For example, prayers for the children of the world. Different every time. And the process may start with a simple color or two colors. For example, prayers for the children of the world. I was shown to paint the children of the world. I was asked to paint the children of the world. I was shown blue and gold. And that's it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Is there anything else there? What am I supposed to do?
It's a big canvas.
And having no answer to my question, I just lay down the blue and intuitively. So this is where there is no separation between, when I start the process, there is no separation between the voice, the messages, the vision from the spiritual world, and my being and my humanness, offering the tools, the skills that I've learned how to paint. It becomes just one operation. It's just one being moving, and I cannot really explain the detail of it because it's just one.
Yeah. Wow. Trying to imagine what that would be like to be. Does it give you a lot of energy to paint with, or?
So there are different levels of my experience. There is the first, it's like being a little bit anxious about it. Am I going to be up to the task? Do I have what it takes to render what I'm asked to paint?
Yes.
So I have my little me going into those places of, oh my God, I don't know to do that.
Yeah.
And then there is a moment of surrender and remembering that, okay, well, if they ask me, they know me better than I know myself. And so I just trust that. And as I start the process, then I am moved by his energy. And the energy, not only, we talk about using sacred geometry and why we use gold and how the viewer is being reminding of his holiness and sacredness. But those are infused, or weaved, I should say, with our life experience on this planet. So with the children, with the animals, whether it's on Earth or in the ocean, so what it does is, as we remember or waking up of our interconnectedness, and we are touched into the sacred place of our being, and this being weaved with our human life experience, now we are remembering that every aspect of creation is sacred. Every aspect, every form of life is sacred. Life itself is sacred. So when we weave this information with, for example, the Great Barrier Reef, which is in a great danger of, through the pollution and the greed of human people doing what they're doing, when we are touched within our deep, deep heart, then we see, we're waking up to what the consequences of our actions and behavior have. This deep impact. No Great Barrier Reef, no life on the planet. It's very simple. No Great Barrier Reef alive, no life on the planet. So we start to, yes, we are interconnected. Yes, we are part of the same living being. And how can I, at my everyday life, help to change what is in process right now, the dying off of the Great Barrier Reef? So what can I do? And so that's what the paintings do. Facing the Children of the World painting, which is actually a traveling altar. What do I mean by that is there's a lot of gold leaf in it, and there is a moment of ceremony, and we have a gold leaf, and everybody has a gold leaf, anyone who would like to participate into it, in which we send our prayer for the children. We send our love, our best wishes, our intention, whatever the words we like to use. It's a sacred art, and it's your love to the children, and that goes on to the painting. And the painting is traveling, remembering that there is a child within us that is longing for this love, that is needing this, and remembering from that place that we love each single child on this planet. We are just all interconnected at the same time. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Oneness, how do we send our love? How do we wake up to that awareness of we need each other?
Yeah. And I was taken by what you were talking about in terms of the gold and how, I guess the first step is really to transmit your love and your prayers onto the gold leaf, which, is about the size of my hand. They come in small units, right? And they're very expensive. And so can you tell me a little bit about what your understanding is of how the encoded prayers, as placed onto the artwork, how that changes the world, so to speak, or its effect?
When I see the viewer in front of a painting started to melt into tears, like crying, and starting to say how they feel their heart opening and share with me this outpouring love that they feel in front of the painting, and how it's hard to say because everybody has a different experience, but mostly it is a heart opening. It is something that allows the viewer to be in touch with the sacredness of their own heart. And once they are in touch with that place, they feel the love. They feel seen, they feel loved, they feel supported, they feel that they are going to change something about their lives in a relationship to the children, to Terra Madre. I mean, depending what painting they're in correspondence with.
So there wasn't any explanation or download of how the gold leaf has an impact that other things don't.
Because the gold has this property to hold information, to hold energy, and to radiate out this energy.
Like a crystal?
Like a crystal, if you wish.
Okay.
So when I paint, when I say we, because I don't feel like I by myself painting, right? When I paint and I use a gold leaf, there is this energy that comes through me that is infusing this energy. It's like a healer put their hands on your body, right? This energy comes through the healer and is being transmitted to the patient, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's the gold leaf becomes the receptacle of this energy, and the energy is in there. It's infused in there, but it doesn't stay dormant in there. It's being radiated out.
So it broadcasts. Yeah, it transmits.
Yes.
And it continues to transmit.
And it continues to transmit. And when the viewer is in front of the painting and has this open heart suddenly to feel the love, they also pulsing out this love. They're writing out back to the gold. So we are amplifying, magnifying each other love. The gold pulls out the love. The viewer receives that love, opens, feels the love, and is loving now. Is loved and is loving, and that energy is infusing the gold. So it's like a continuous transmission of love.
And do you feel like, and I really just don't know these things because I think all of us are longing to make a difference, and we kind of don't know what to do sometimes, other than like pick up trash off the street or
That's
recycle, or
wonderful. That's
that's all good
wonderful.
too.
That's very
Um,
important.
yes, very important. So the question that I have is like using the gold. Um, does it awaken in the viewer? Um, does it awaken in the viewer a sense of connectedness to the children of the world? Or does it awaken the heart just in general? Or am I making false distinctions? It's my Virgo analytical side that wants to know how this works, and
One of my teacher is who lives in the spiritual world. She was a woman in the 1200, and she's now living in the spiritual world, and she's my main teacher. And she likes to say, if you explain the vision,
yeah.
the vision becomes mute.
Oh my God, thank you. So we'll leave it at that and let the silence speak more than the.
What I like to say is I like to invite everyone to be in presence and have their own experience without me explaining what they're going to explain, to experience, or why this or why that. It's the experience of it that is the truth of each individual that matters. It doesn't really matter what I explain. What matters is the experience of the individual in front of the painting.
Yeah. I love this. I don't know if you know this guy, Billy Collins. He was our poet laureate a few years ago, and he has this great poem about how there was this simple, beautiful poem about a chair, or there was a simple, beautiful chair, and that people strapped it down until they had interpreted the life out of it. And I just thought that was like such a great capturing of how the numinous doesn't live well in the over analytical sphere, So okay, we'll tread more gently on the radiance aspect of this, but I think for me, in terms of the purpose of these dialogues, is to appreciate those new methods of catalyzing light, but also like, if I'm not a fine artist, what can I do artistically can I have the same experience of having a spiritual transmission translated onto paper in your understanding? Like, is there something that we can do that's similar to what you do, but not the same, because many of us can't rush out and buy gold leaf? But
Neither I do.
Huh?
Neither I do. I just cannot rush out and buy gold leaf.
It's expensive.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive. Yeah.
And actually, there is a new vision coming in, and there is a need for a lot of gold.
Yeah.
I don't have the mean yet, but I trust, because it's been asked, that the mean to have this gold available would be there.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time.
So it will
but
come.
I'm like you. I cannot rush out and buy the gold. Just like, okay.
So is there anything from your understanding related to working with these sacred inspirations that we could do to change the world? Like, if others also did this, would it make a difference?
I feel that what makes a difference is when each individual listens to their own heart and what is within them that is being called forth to be expressed. And yes, it's fun to express yourself through any art form.
Right.
And sometimes the call is not through an art form. It's a different call. we love those great surgeons who save our lives.
Yeah.
I believe it's a sacred working through them. Everything to me in life is sacred. Everything is needed. Everything is an answer to the need. As long as we are aligned within ourselves, in our own heart, to the specific gift that is yours, and express that gift. And that gift is needed by the entire planet and beyond that. So, to your question, it's difficult for me to answer. But yeah, pick colors, pick a piece of paper. Don't think about it. Just do what is fun. If it's your joy, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. And your soul, your heart will be revealed.
Yeah. But I feel that there's a difference between that and that sense of like very profound inspiration where you feel a calling to...
It's different.
To bring forth a vision, right?
It's different, yet it started for me to have fun with colors and piece of paper, and you know what I mean. And it's not it's not for everyone to do this specific way of bringing the light. Some people will use singing. Some people will use making wonderful food because they pour their love into that food, and that food is going to nourish others in a way that is pure light, pure love in it.
Yeah.
So the call is different for each individual, and I believe there are other artists listening to that call and expressing this call in a different way than I do, in their own way, which is beautiful because every single person is going to be touched from a different perspective or a different way. So we're trying to have as much as possible experiences.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was excited about, I think, as I said, for many of us, the question of how you translate inspiration into something in the world, not necessarily that you see it with your senses, but how it comes through. The arts are a form that are kind of, we're seeing a resurgence of art in many interesting new forms, and so I wanted to kind of highlight the way in which you organize your inspiration into this kind of transmission and what your experience is. So thank you so much for
Thank you, Catherine.
sharing your wisdom with us and sharing your completed works and works in process, and we'll look forward to seeing what comes next.
Thank you, Catherine.
Okay.